I am Fireface, and you're watching the Crafty Goblin! For this week's craft, I emerge from my hideouts to help you humans make dungeon tiles.
In episode 1, I built a drop terrain piece that had diamonds embedded in stone. It was super cool. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how I build super cheap, quick, and easy dungeon tiles that any beginner can build without a lot of tools, materials, or time. You don't need to be an expert dungeon crafter to build these. You don't need a hot wire cutter, a hot glue gun, or even XPS foam. Today, we will be working with a razor knife, PVA glue, right here, foam board, acrylic paint, and acrylic painting canvas panels such as these. I picked these up at Family Dollar for $1 a pack. Comes with this pack right here, comes with 2 in a pack, so they're 50 cents a piece. We'll be using 3 5x7 canvas panels to make a generic tile set, which can be used for a variety of scenarios for tabletop role-playing games.
Making dungeon tiles out of cheap materials is easy enough, but try making them out of garbage!
To start, we will need to mark out our tiles into 1-inch grids, sort of like this. You'll need a ruler for this. Each tile in the set will require 35 1-inch square pieces cut out of foam board. Pieces should look something like that, okay? The measurement doesn't have to be exact, but they should be pretty close. So using a ruler, mark out your grid into a 1-inch square grid consisting of 35 1-inch squares. You can use a sheet like this. It really doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be that big. And what you can do is you can take your canvas panel and you can just place it right here on the sheet. Take a pen and just trace around the exterior of the sheet. Can't see it that well, but once you have that pattern drawn out, go ahead and cut that out. Do it 3 times. Cut that out. Okay, so before you begin marking out your grid, what you want to do is you want to very carefully peel the paper off of this foam board. If you got your foam board from a dollar store like Dollar Tree, then this should be a fairly simple task as this paper peels right off. The glue on there, the adhesive isn't that strong. So just make sure that you peel off all the paper, because you don't want any of that to be attached to your pieces when you go to glue them onto your tiles. So just like you did with your tiles, with the canvas panels, mark out a 1-inch grid with the foam board. you should end up with the same amount of squares in your grid as you got with the canvas panels. Okay, so once you have your foam board measured out into 1-inch squares, just like you did with your canvas panel, you have a couple of options. You can start with just taking a aluminum foil ball and doing some stone texturing, and then cut them all out, sand them down to make them a little bit more neat, and then glue them right onto your canvas panel, and then go to the next step. I like to put some brickwork on there, make it look like an actual street. And you can do that without sacrificing a grid if that's what you want to do. And also, what it does is it makes it look a little bit less like a grid while preserving the grid, if that makes any sense to you. So I'm going to go ahead with the brickwork, but that is entirely up to you. You can do whatever you want to do, and whatever suits you and your interests, tastes, or your gaming preferences. But I'm going to go ahead with some brickwork. Start out by just drawing a couple of lines into the brick, or into the foam board, just like this. Draw one line here, draw another line there, a line right there, a line there, and just sort of break the piece up a little bit so that you have oddly shaped brick in there, and you end up with a pattern sort of like that. Okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. The lines don't have to be very even, but make sure you really get into the foam board so that the lines hold and the foam stays depressed and it doesn't try to raise back up. Okay, so you want to really make sure you get in all those lines there and really accentuate it. And repeat this process with whatever pattern you've got. Repeat the same pattern another 34 times throughout the entire sheet before you move to the next step. And if you want, what you can do is you can just kind of go all the way across like that. Go all the way across again. Make sure you really get in good there. All right. And then just begin your pattern. once you get this all patterned out the way that you want it, you got your brickwork all laid out, or your textures, or however you want to do it, the next step is to cut it out, and you want to take your safety knife and go ahead and do that.
Yeah! Slicing and dicing materials for my tiles!
Okay, once you have all your squares cut, what I like to do is I like to bevel the squares using sandpaper. I have a 120 grit on hand that I got at the department store, but whatever works for you is fine. I just like to bevel the very top corner there to kind of give it a smoother edge and help cause some separation between the squares. So just take your sandpaper and give it a few quick passes on each edge of the square, just there on top, very lightly, so that you have a beveled look. And compare that to a square that is embeveled, and you can clearly tell the difference. Now that I have all my squares beveled and sanded down, I can go ahead and start gluing them to the canvas panel. And what we're going to use for that is Elmer's glue, regular PVA glue. You don't need a hot glue gun or anything else for this. Just regular PVA glue. This is going to take a little longer to dry than the hot glue gun. Hot glue will dry in seconds. This will take about an hour or two. I like to let it dry for a few hours, but once it's dry, it won't come off. This stuff will adhere forever, and it will toughen up the pieces a whole lot better than hot glue will.
Now that this part is done, it's time for the paint. The war paint!
Now that your squares are all glued onto the panel and you got your stone texture on there using your aluminum ball, now it's time for paint. And the first coat is Mod Podge Black. So get yourself a good amount on there and go ahead and cover the entire surface of the tile.
Go ahead and bring the pain! Pain is my favorite thing!
We can go ahead and proceed with the second coat. In this case, I'm going to use a medium gray and then highlight that with some orange and brown in different bricks here on the tile. Be sure to alternate the different colors so that you have an even distribution throughout the tile. Pick a square on each tile, like this one right here. And if you feel like you're smudging onto another brick too much, you can try grabbing a smaller paintbrush. complete, it's time to do the wash. Now, again, I like to go with the trusty bottle full of black wash and spray it down. Now that we're done with the wash coat, looks pretty good. Same with the other two. We can now go ahead with the dry coat. We're going to go ahead and dry brush a light, kind of like an off-white color onto these tiles to sort of bring out some more of those details. And as soon as we're done with that, these tiles are done, and didn't really take us all that long. So let's go ahead and finish these up. Dry coat really brings out the brickwork on that tile even more so. And so there you go. Let me give you a bit of a close-up of all three of these. And before I conclude the video, we got one final step that I wanna demonstrate here, and that is the clear coat. This is clear PVA Elmer's glue. I get it at Family Dollar, but you can get it at most department stores. It dries clear, it goes on clear, and it hardens the tile against any damage or abuse that it might go through, and gives it a nice shine, kind of like this right here. See that? It hardens it fairly well, and it's very cheap. I think I only paid $1.99 for the bottle, and it's lasted me quite a while. And you get a real nice shine and a real secure coat to finish. It's a real secure finish to finish off the tile. So that's what we're gonna do with these three here. And the reason I only did one of these with colored bricks is because I wanted to demonstrate that if you decided you didn't want to go with the colored bricks, you wanted to speed up the process a little bit, you can still end up with a quality tile with quality stonework and a quality finish without having to go through the process of painting the brickwork. But painting the brickwork different colors definitely adds some detail and some color to it that will help make the tile shine a little bit more. But it's definitely not necessary, and if you really are pressed for time and really want to crank out some street tiles pretty quick, this is definitely the way to go. But if you have a little bit more time and you want to do this right here, it's definitely worth it to go ahead and do that. But now we're going to go ahead and give it one final coat, and that is a coat with good old clear coat PVA glue. Just go ahead and spread it on there. You don't have to put too much on, just one stream per row. Kind of get like this too. And then you take a clean paintbrush and you just spread it around. I like to use a regular old shoebox. Make sure that there's no debris inside of it. And I just go ahead and stick my pieces inside here to dry. It's not enough room for all three, which is why I have another shoebox. But I just set that to the side and I leave it alone, and I let those dry for about a good 10 to 12 hours. And once they're dry, like I said, they will come out looking like this and that. These are tiles that I made quite recently, and I can use them for a variety of different scenarios, including a street scene. I can use them for a dungeon scene. I can use them for a crypt scene, and you know, the sky's the limit. They're pretty basic. I just used an aluminum foam, an aluminum ball for stone texture, and voila, that's what I got. And they look pretty good. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and let those tiles dry. Find another shoebox for this one right here.
If you like this video, like and subscribe, or I will be your doom!